Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Healing Outside the Box. My name is Jean Tiberio, and I'm a nutritionist and a wellness coach. Today I'm bringing you a repeat of episode 182 entitled Prebiotics and Probiotics. What's the difference? I won't keep you in suspense because basically you could Google it and leave me all alone to talk to myself. So here it is. Prebiotics are non-digestible foods that selectively stimulate the growth of desirable microorganisms in our GI tract. Our grandparents called it roughage, and now we just refer to it as both soluble and insoluble dietary fiber. Probiotics are foods that contain live cultures of friendly bacteria. Most of us think of yogurt, soft cheeses or fresh cheeses, buttermilk, sauerkraut, and some fermented pickles when we think of probiotics. By the way, most of the pickles that we get in the supermarket are non-fermented pickles, which means they just have added salt and vinegar. The truly fermented pickles do not contain vinegar, and they're stored at room temperature to allow lactobacillus bacteria to grow out and ferment the cucumber. So there's lots of fermented foods that contain beneficial lactobacillus or acidophilus type bacteria. But you can get probiotic capsules over the counter. Those capsules generally only contain acidophilus. The jury is still out on whether or not the probiotic pills are as beneficial as actually taking the yogurt or the sauerkraut. But generally speaking, they don't cause any harm. Now, symbiotics are two products that, when taken together, result in even more health benefits. In other words, they work together to make your healthy microbiome healthy and happy. How popular are probiotics? Well, the 2012 National Health Interview Survey showed that about 4 million, or 1.6% of American adults, had used probiotics or prebiotics in the previous 30 days. Among adults, both probiotics and prebiotics were the most commonly used dietary supplement other than vitamins and minerals. The community of microorganisms that lives on us and in us are called the microbiome collectively, and it's a hot topic for research. The Human Microbiome Project, supported by the National Institutes of Health, or NIH, took place from 2007 to 2016. And played a key role in this research by mapping the normal bacteria that live in and on a healthy human body. With this understanding of the normal microbiome, researchers around the world are now exploring the links between changes in the microbiome and the onset of various diseases, or prevention of various diseases. They're also developing new therapeutic approaches designed to modify the microbiome to treat disease and support health. So here is the episode on probiotics. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Healing Outside the Box. My name is Jean Tiberio, and I'm a nutritionist and wellness coach. This is episode 182, and it's called Probiotics and Prebiotics. What's the difference? And I'll get to that in a minute. But first, I want to tell you about my super fun trip to the farmers market here in Salem, Massachusetts. And I also want to remind everyone who gets SNAP benefits that the HIP program for farmers markets has not been tanked or canceled, as some people may have thought. The Trump administration tried to sink that ship, but failed to do so. In case you haven't heard about the HIP program, I want to get you up to date. The HIP program stands for the Healthy Incentives Program, and it's part of the very large SNAP program, which is renamed for the old food stamp program. Now, when you receive SNAP benefits, you're allowed an equivalent of X amount of dollars per month, and it's usually delivered twice per month. So let's say you have $80 a month in SNAP or food stamp benefits. If you go to the farmer's market, pretty much anywhere in Massachusetts and you spend, say, $20, if the farmers are participating in the HIB program, you'll actually get the $20 back on your card. In other words, the fruits and vegetables are free. Now, I don't care how many times I hear that food at the farmer's market is expensive. There's nothing cheaper than free, and that's the fact, as Lily Tomlin used to say. You can get up to $40 of free food, I believe, every month. At least that was the case, and I'll check this year to make sure. And the HIP program is supposed to be running in all 50 states. But again, I'll check with the local DTA office to make sure of that. Anyway, we had a lovely time. The weather was beautiful. They had a live band. And I got so many food items. It filled 3 large bags. I was so proud of myself. I piled everything on my kitchen table and took a picture of it. I think I'll post the picture up on my website for this episode. So the next night, I made pasta primavera with the spinach linguine I got there, all organic, of course, and about 7 or 8 roasted vegetables. They also have spices, fresh and dried. So I got some basil and olive oil, and away I went. I think I got 6 portions out of it. And that was a pretty good deal, since it was, well, free, duh. Even if it's not free in your neighborhood. It's always a good idea for members of your community to sally forth, or should I say, tally-ho, to the local farmer's market to meet and greet your townie friends and get some cool produce. Now, back to the show. Probiotics and prebiotics. Let's start by defining the terms. Probiotics are live microorganisms that have health benefits. Now, these health benefits are generally thought to be related to digestion, but the research that is going on right now suggests that these healthy bacteria may have many roles in our body that are positive. Probiotics are associated with what we call homeostasis. It may prevent diarrhea caused by infections. It may help to control the symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome. And it may even help give you healthy glowing skin. Healthy bacteria that make up the normal flora in our intestines are thought to help with the digestion of food, vitamin production, and they, more often than not, do fight off pathogens. There are also some rumblings around, far from being proven yet, that suggest that these probiotics, or beneficial bacteria, may help fight off cancer. The mechanism is unknown, and there will certainly be more research to follow. Now, the normal microorganisms in our body are thought to outnumber our human cells 10 to 1. The probiotics in our environment that we ingest, say in yogurt, supplements, fermented foods like sauerkraut, are similar to these organisms that are already in our system. One of the most common names of these probiotics are the Lactobacillus family. For example, if you see Lactobacillus casei, and you know that casein is milk protein, you might then guess that this probiotic is in yogurt, and indeed it is. There is also Lactobacillus acidophilus, and that name probably sounds familiar to you if you've seen acidophilus milk in the grocery store. There's another class of bacteria that are called bifidobacteria. These bacteria live in your intestines and can help with either constipation or irritable bowel syndrome. These bifidobacteria have been administered for the treatment of ulcerative colitis and has shown some promise in treating this disease. This group of bacteria might also help fight the common cold, which we all know is caused by thousands of different strains of viruses. These 2 groups that I just mentioned are in a class called lactic acid bacteria. They create lactic acid, which lowers the pH of their environment. In other words, they make the environment more acidic. The technical term for the Lactobacillus group, or the Bifidobacteria group, is actually a genus, spelled Genus. Inside your bodies, They are plentiful in your intestines, vagina, if you have one, and mouth. In our environment, they are generally found in fermented foods. And I think you know what they are. Yogurt, pickles, sauerkraut, miso soup, etc. Black tea is technically fermented as well, although I'm not sure how much of a bacterial count you'll get from them once you dump boiling water on them. People are now being encouraged to take this type of probiotic when they're taking antibiotics. You might be thinking, huh? Well, yes, that's right. Antibiotics kill all bacteria in our bodies, the good and the bad. These probiotics will help reduce the killing of our normal microbiota, or they might help replace the good bacteria that were killed while you were taking the antibiotics. A lot of doctors recommend that women take yogurt during the last days of their antibiotic regimen, and I think that's a good idea. There's been a lot of studies, as you can well imagine. There was a small NIH study that tested a combination of probiotics. In this swirling mixture of bacterial life, they added Bifidobacterium bifidum, Bifidobacterium infatis, Bifidobacterium longum, Lactobacilli casei, Lactobacilli plantarum, and Lactobacilli rhamnosus. I'm exhausted. I feel like I need a nap. Anyway, this mixture was shown to be effective in increasing bowel movements. Now, I know you're thinking, well, yippee, Jean. But moving food through your GI tract in a timely manner will not only help prevent constipation, it will reduce the absorption of not-so-friendly substances. And I'll give you a link in the show notes to that NIH study if you'd like to read further. And by the way, that last sentence was a hint to what the future may hold for these probiotics. Some of the not-so-friendly substances, like nicotine, for example, are carcinogenic. But now we can also throw Roundup into that heap of toxins. Another species is called Bifidobacterium infatis. This genus of bacteria is found in mother's milk. I imagine especially in the first 5 days of mother's milk that they call colostrum. This bacteria is thought to discourage the growth of certain pathogens in the newborn infant. And as we know, infants are born with a very underdeveloped immune system. The first 6 months of life can be torturous for any mother who is nursing a sick child. This species of bacteria breaks down mother's milk, which then lowers the pH of the environment, both in the milk and inside the infant, and it makes the environment more acidic. And what this does is it makes it more difficult for pathogens to grow inside of the infant's intestines. And that's a good thing. Now, most of these beneficial bacteria can metabolize non-digestible oligosaccharides. Let's call them complex carbohydrates for simplicity's sake. However, these two groups, the bifidobacteria and the lactobacillus, seem to especially thrive on prebiotics. So what are prebiotics? Prebiotics are a special form of dietary fiber, which are complex carbohydrates, and these substances act like a fertilizer for the good bacteria in your gut to grow. As we've learned, the probiotics are live bacteria that need to feed, and they're found in our guts and in yogurt and other fermented foods. So prebiotics are basically high-fiber complex carbohydrates that these bacteria like to feed on. More often than not, they don't get broken down into glucose in the second portion of our small intestines, so the bacteria in our gut can metabolize them for their energy. Now, I've heard a lot of talk about apple cider vinegar and how it works in this regard. People will say, "Have you heard that apple cider vinegar is great for you?" And I'll generally say yes and no. Yes, I have heard, and no, it's really not. Studies have shown, Paula Poundstone loves to say that, studies have shown that apple cider vinegar is not effective in promoting the growth of these good bacteria. Nice try, vinegar people. The skins of the apples, however, a very effective prebiotic material against soluble fiber. More specifically, it is the pectins in the apple skin that the beneficial bacteria feed on. You gotta eat the skins, people. I say to people, if you throw out the apple skins, you might as well just throw out the entire apple and start over. And they look at me like I'm crazy, which, well, guilty as charged. But it is true about the apple skins, the great prebiotic material. Other effective prebiotics are root vegetables of all kinds, onions, garlic, beets, maybe cucumbers. You see where I'm going with this. They're all good pickling vegetables. There's also beans of all kinds, and, for some reason, bananas. But I would add all fruits with skins to this pile. And speaking of pile, these are also good composting foods for the same reason. They promote the growth of these probiotic bacteria. And then you put it in the soil and those good bacteria make all those great vitamins and flavor compounds and so forth. There were some experiments done where people consumed these prebiotic soluble fiber compounds, and the composition of their gut flora actually changed. In other words, we're talking about just more of the soluble fiber, the apple skins, the root vegetables, etc. Speaking of experiments, there's a specific species of probiotic that is getting some attention. It's called Bifidobacterium lactis 12, or BB12. Scientists are beginning to believe that the benefits of these beneficial bacteria may go well beyond just maintaining a healthy gut. Another lactobacillus that we should be keeping our eyes out for is Lactobacillus rhamnosus, rhamnosus. There's been research popping up about a combination of probiotic therapy with these two probiotics and a combination of different mushrooms. We all know that mushrooms are fungi. I love that word. There's a fungus among us. I also love saying that. So stay tuned for more on that combination of fungi and probiotics. This is yet another argument in favor of the high-produce Mediterranean diet over the no-fiber, paleo, or Atkins-type diet. One way to look at this is that your healthy gut is like a beautiful flower garden. You need the probiotics like the bifidobacteria and the lactobacillus as the seeds that grow into beneficial but perhaps not so fragrant flowers. But you also need the fertilizer so that the seeds will have something to feed on, which is what prebiotics are. So I can't say this enough. You need healthy fiber-containing carbohydrates to drive this whole process. Now that I've made my point about the Mediterranean diet, I want to move on and let you know that I will be looking into recipes to ferment some of these vegetables. I have a good pickle recipe that I will pass on to you. I'll leave you the link in the show notes. And just a separate note about doing your own fermenting or pickling. You cannot get botulism from pickling because the environment created by vinegar and/or salt will prevent pathogens from growing out and hurting you. Having said that, I recommend that you follow the directions carefully if you're fermenting at home. In other words, if they tell you to boil the water for 3 minutes or boil the jars in water, then do so. So happy fermenting and don't worry about the botulism. That's all I have for you today. Be well and stay tuned next week for another episode of Healing Outside the Box.